All right, so are you ready to dive deep? Today we're taking a look at Temu. You know, that online shopping thing, the one that's like everywhere these days?
Yeah, it seems like you can't escape it.
Exactly. And you've sent us some super interesting excerpts from like an online encyclopedia article about them, and we're going to break it all down together.
Sounds good.
We're going to go way beyond those catchy ads you see, and figure out what's really going on.
Get to the bottom of it.
Yep.
So, Temu, their rise has been just insane, like meteoric.
Yeah.
They just like exploded on the scene in September 2022.
Wow.
And get this, by January 2024, they were in like 49 countries.
What?
With 100 million users in the U.S. alone. It's crazy.
It's a lot of people.
It is. It is. And their model, direct from China, cutting out all those like traditional retail markups, it's obviously hit a nerve.
People love a good deal.
They do. They do. But, all that incredible growth has also come with, well, a bit of controversy.
There's always a catch.
Right.
It really does feel like they took over the world overnight.
It does, doesn't it?
I remember seeing their Super Bowl ad, the one with the $15 million prize pool.
Yeah.
And thinking, whoa, these guys are not messing around.
Mm-hmm.
But how'd they pull it off? What's, the secret?
Well, it's not magic,
Right.
although it kind of feels like it.
It does.
Temu is actually backed by PDD Holdings.
Okay.
And they are a Chinese e-commerce giant. They own Pinduoduo. So we're not talking about some small startup here.
Gotcha.
This is a calculated move from a company with, well, massive resources and a history of, really shaking things up.
So it's not just about offering the lowest prices. There's a bigger strategy at play.
Right.
What do you think their ultimate goal is, PDD Holdings? With Temu, I mean.
Oh, that's the million-dollar question.
Right.
On the surface, yeah, it's about market share.
Makes sense.
Tapping into that global desire for, well, cheap stuff.
Everyone loves a bargain.
Exactly. But some analysts think there might be more to it,
Ooh, like what?
Like, what if they're aiming to collect tons of consumer data?
Oh, interesting.
Or, maybe establish a really dominant position in the global e-commerce landscape.
Wow.
It's something to watch, that's for sure.
Definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're playing the long game here.
It seems like it.
But this crazy growth, all this growth, it's led to some serious friction.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly with Shein.
Another one?
Another fast fashion giant, also known for low prices. And this whole thing, it's like a corporate thriller or something.
Yeah.
Lawsuits going back and forth since December of 2022. Accusations of influencer manipulation, even threats. It's like a real battle of the titans.
Clash of the Titans.
Totally.
Wow. And then it gets even more complicated when you look at the antitrust case Temu filed against Shein.
Oh, yeah, in July 2023, right.
Yeah, July 2023.
So what's that all about?
So Temu claims Shein is being anti-competitive, forcing manufacturers into these exclusive deals.
Trying to shut out the competition.
Exactly. Basically trying to squash any potential rivals.
Wow.
And of course, Shein denies it.
Yeah, of course.
And the whole legal battle is still going on.
So it's like a war on multiple fronts.
It really is.
But stepping back from all the legal drama for a second.
Okay.
What are the bigger implications of all this? What does it tell us about the fast fashion industry as a whole?
It really highlights, I think, a fundamental tension within the industry.
Okay.
On one hand, there's this intense pressure to constantly innovate.
Always got to be new.
Yeah, always got to be new, churn out new trends and offer, rock bottom prices to stay ahead.
To stay competitive.
Yeah, exactly. But on the other hand, there are these growing concerns about the ethical and environmental costs.
Of course.
Of this, relentless pursuit of fast fashion.
It's a tough balance.
It is.
And those concerns, they go way beyond the courtroom.
Oh, absolutely.
Temu has been hit with a ton of criticism. From customer complaints to accusations of forced labor, data privacy violations. It's a lot.
And a lot to unpack, yeah.
It is. It really is.
It really raises some important questions,
Yeah.
About corporate responsibility in a globalized world. How do we balance wanting affordable stuff with, making sure things are sourced ethically and protecting our data?
Right. It's complicated.
It is.
Right. So let's break it down, all these concerns one by one.
Okay.
Starting with, what customers are actually experiencing. What kind of complaints are we seeing?
Well, a lot of the complaints, they're all about product quality and customer service.
Okay.
Think about undelivered packages or items that look nothing like the photos online, and just like real difficulties getting refunds, or even just reaching customer support. It's pretty wild, actually, the volume of complaints. It's a lot. Social media, it's just full of stories about stuff not being delivered or items being like totally different than what they ordered. And like independent consumer groups, the watchdogs, they've reported this huge spike in complaints against Temu. Seems like, for every happy customer, there are like a bunch who feel let down or even like straight up ripped off.
That's crazy because it's like the opposite of what they show in their ads,
Right. It's like this polished image.
Yeah. But let's get into like some specifics here.
Okay, sure.
What's the deal with like these reports of the products not matching their descriptions?
Yeah.
Is it just like, are they being tricky with marketing, or is it just because like they're growing so fast and making mistakes?
Yeah, it's tough to say for sure, without seeing like their internal data.
Sure.
But the patterns in these complaints, they're like a little concerning. There are all these issues with sizing. Like clothes not fitting right, colors being off, like the color you see online isn't what you get. And there are even cases where like the actual material of the item is totally different than what was advertised.
So it's not just like a buyer beware situation.
Right. Like maybe they are being sneaky.
Yeah.
It's a serious accusation, and like they haven't really addressed it fully.
What have they said?
They've just said, generic stuff about how they want customers to be happy, but no real explanation for like why this is happening so much.
Interesting. What about like the customer service complaints?
Yeah.
Is it just that they have too many customers and not enough people to help? Or is it like a bigger problem?
It's hard to say exactly what's causing it,
Sure.
But there are so many complaints, people saying customer service just doesn't respond or isn't helpful.
Yeah.
It does make you think maybe there's a bigger issue there.
Like what?
Like some reports say that Temu outsources like a lot of its customer service
to other companies.
Yeah. So that could, lead to problems with communication and delays.
That makes sense. Like it's harder to keep things consistent when you have all these different companies involved. Okay, so let's like shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And talk about, the big issue here, the elephant in the room. Forced labor.
Oh, right.
In their supply chain. This is where things get like really ethically complicated.
Yeah, for sure.
So these low prices that Temu offers, right? They really depend on this huge network of suppliers.
Yeah.
A lot of them in China.
Right.
And, well, there have been a lot of reports of forced labor in Chinese factories.
Especially in the Xinjiang region.
And this isn't just like a rumor, right?
Right. It's serious.
We're talking about like actual reports from human rights organizations, even government investigations.
Yeah, like the U.S. House of Representatives, right?
Yes. In 2023, they put out this report
highlighting a, quote, extremely high risk, end quote, of forced labor being in Temu's supply chain.
Wow, that's a pretty strong statement.
It is. And Temu has denied it, of course.
Yeah.
But they haven't really like shown us how they're sourcing their stuff.
So we can't really tell if they're being truthful.
Right. And it puts consumers like in a really tough spot.
It does.
It's like, do you go for the cheap price?
Yeah.
Or do you hold out for, ethical sourcing, even if it means paying more?
It's a tough question.
It is a tough question, and like a really important one. I think it's good to remember that every time we buy something, it's like we're voting for that company.
Yeah, it's like supporting them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So are we okay with supporting a company that might be even indirectly using forced labor?
That's something to think about for sure. And it leads us to like the next big concern.
Okay.
Data privacy.
Ah, yes.
In this, digital age, all our information is valuable.
It really is.
And there are a lot of people worried about what Temu is doing with our data.
Yeah, and for good reason, I think.
Like, what kind of data are we talking about?
Oh, Temu collects a ton of data from its users. Like, everything.
Yeah.
From your browsing history to, what you buy, even your location. And given their connection to PDD Holdings,
The parent company.
Yeah, exactly. And they've had their own problems with the data privacy.
Right.
It makes sense that people are worried.
It does.
Yes.
Especially considering that, like, their app asks for access to so much stuff on your phone.
It does, doesn't it?
Like your camera and even your microphone.
Yeah.
It's a little creepy, not going to lie.
That does make you think twice, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
And these worries about data privacy, they go beyond just, one person's information.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There are, bigger implications.
Geopolitical, even.
Wow.
Some experts are worried that the Chinese government could get access to all this data that Temu is collecting.
Really?
Yeah, it raises some questions about, national security and, who actually owns this data?
It's scary to think about.
It is, yeah.
It's like, we're not just talking about buying cheap clothes and gadgets.
Mm-hmm.
This is about ethics, and society and politics, all connected to how we shop online.
It all ties together.
It's a lot. But before we get, totally overwhelmed here, let's, get back to Temu specifically.
Okay.
What are they saying about all this?
About all the criticism.
Yeah, have they addressed these concerns?
Honestly, they've been pretty quiet. They did say something about the U.S. House report.
What about forced labor?
Yeah, they denied any involvement, but they didn't give any details about their supply chain or, how they keep data safe.
So a lot of denial, but not a lot of action.
Basically, yeah.
What about those ads? The ones they ran in the UK? The ones that were, inappropriate?
Yeah, they did pull those ads.
After people complained?
Yeah, and after, some regulators got involved.
But did they explain, how those ads got approved in the first place?
Not really, which, makes you wonder about their whole process.
Yeah, do they even care about ethical advertising?
It's a valid question.
It feels like they're trying to, brush all this stuff under the rug instead of, actually talking to people about it.
Yeah, being more open.
Yeah, being more open with their customers.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe their actions, tell us more than their words.
Yeah, what have they actually done?
Yeah, besides just saying stuff. Have they actually made changes to how they do business?
Well, they have made some, small changes.
What?
For example, they updated their terms of service to include, a part about banned products.
Okay.
And specifically, they mention, stuff made with forced labor.
So, they're saying they won't sell those things anymore?
Yeah, basically.
Well,
right. It's a start, I guess.
But, does that actually mean anything's changing? In the real world? It's hard to know,
It is, yeah.
without knowing more about, where they're getting their products from.
Exactly. That's the whole problem.
The lack of transparency.
Yeah, Temu's, secrecy. It makes it really hard to know if their policies are actually making a difference.
Right.
They say they have, a zero tolerance policy for forced labor.
But, how do we know?
Right, how do we know without, independent audits, or some way to verify where their stuff is coming from?
Yeah.
It's all just words.
Trust us.
Yeah, trust us.
But, show me the proof,
Right.
And what about the data privacy stuff? Have they done anything about that?
They did update their privacy policy, recently, to give more info about, what data they collect and how they use it.
Okay.
And they say they've, improved their security to keep data safe.
So more words, more promises.
Yeah, pretty much.
But, are these changes actually enough?
That's really up to each person to decide, I think.
Yeah.
Some people might feel better after these updates, but others might still be unsure,
Right.
In the end, it's about, your own comfort level and what you believe is important.
It's a tough one, for sure.
It is.
Because on one hand, Temu's prices are crazy low.
They are, yeah.
Which can be a huge help for people who don't have a lot of money to spend.
Absolutely. It can make a big difference.
But then on the other hand, there's all this baggage.
The ethical concerns.
Yeah, the ethical concerns, the risks, the lack of transparency.
It's what are you willing to compromise on?
That's like a deal with the devil.
Yeah, like a Faustian bargain.
Exactly. And it makes you think about, this bigger issue we all face.
Yeah.
As shoppers in this global world.
Right, in this global economy.
We want cheap stuff and we want it to be easy to buy online, but we also want to feel good about where it's coming from.
And knowing that our information is safe.
Exactly.
Complicated.
It really is. So, where does that leave us? What have we learned from all this?
I think the biggest takeaway is that, being an informed shopper is more important than ever.
Mm-hmm.
We can't just click add to cart without thinking about what our choices mean. Right.
We have to do our research, ask questions, and really demand more transparency from these companies.
We have power as consumers.
We do.
Yeah, we really do. So after this whole deep dive into Temu,
after all this,
what do you think? Are you willing to ignore all the bad stuff just to get a good deal? Or is it just too risky ethically?
It's a story that's still playing out.
It is.
And we'll be dealing with this stuff for years to come, probably.
Probably.
There aren't any easy answers.
No.
But I think, by staying informed
Yeah.
and thinking critically.
Thinking for ourselves.
Exactly. And holding companies accountable.
Making them do better.
Yeah, we can make online shopping more ethical and sustainable in the future.
That's a good goal.
It is.
So something to think about.
For sure.
Thanks for being here for this deep dive.
It was great chatting.
It was fun. We hope this is, giving you the info you need to navigate, the crazy world of online shopping.
It's a wild world out there. It is. Until next time, happy shopping. And remember,